Hi everyone, we are waiting for Greg, who should chair today's meeting.
Hello, Thomas. Did you ping him?
Yes, I've done it.
I see that he's online on Slack. So,
He says he has some technical problem. He's going to reboot the machine and be back. So let's wait a bit.
so in the meantime, I want to raise an issue about the project. And I see that the agenda that he has sent is not including my name. I want to talk about it. Why is it the case?
We may want to wait for him then.
So you are not aware of the change? It's just made by him.
I
Is
didn't
it
touch
what you
the
are
agenda.
saying?
No, I added 2 new talks, but I didn't touch today's agenda.
Okay, thanks.
Um, Fabrizio Parvati Giri, if you want to start sharing your slide deck, then we
Absolutely. Parvati, can you start sharing if you have available?
Yeah, let me share.
So today's session should be like Q&A about the previous session. So we will not start presenting. We will wait for you to ask questions.
Which
Can
screen are
you
you?
show the last slides again, just to jog our memory again? I know I liked the discussion at the end, but I have to admit I didn't review the slides again. I think you had like a nice summary slide at the end last time.
Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me go to the last slide. Yeah, here I'll let you look at it, but I just wanted to give you a basic overview of this slide. So we are getting the uniformly transformed input messages, the evidence, reference, and the endorsements, each representing the environment of the target environment uniquely, and the appraisal would compare, in this case, the reference and the evidence values. And as for the endorsement, they could optionally be augmented with the result for the relying party to assess more, or could be different depending on the requirement.
Okay. Okay, so I think we can start the discussion, right? Greg probably will join a bit later, but so
Hey,
I-
Thomas, I'm
oh, hi,
joining from
Greg.
my laptop. I'm a little bit disabled. I can't see everything, but if you can hear me, I'm sort of here.
Yes, we can hear you.
All
Thanks for
right, so
joining, despite your technical difficulties. Um,
has the meeting started? It sounds like it has.
well, we were waiting for you, and I was just going to start in your absence, but since you're here, then please go ahead.
Okay.
So the slide deck is being shared. So the OCP it format. So we're ready for the Q&A.
Okay, great. Did we go over any of the administrative stuff, the agenda for today, or any other administrative stuff, or has that not happened yet?
Not yet. Usama raised a question, and but I said, if Greg is not here, then I cannot answer for him. So if
Mhm.
whether
All
we
right.
want to do first the admin and then the Q&A or vice versa.
Let's go through the administrative stuff and then we can get on to the Q&A. So
Okay.
So from what I see, a few things. So first, everybody, if you can and feel like it, please feel free to enter your name in the attendees list. I can't paste the link at the moment, but perhaps somebody else can. And that bit of housekeeping would be good. It helps us kind of understand the overall community and lets people reach out to each other over time. And then another administrative thing is I sent an email out on the distribution list this morning. So there's a long list of different topics that have been organized for the upcoming few months going through June. So if you're kind of interested in what's coming down the road for topics and presenters, take a look at that latest message on the distribution list. And now, as for the agenda today, Osama, I see your hand up. I'm going to wait and finish my little spiel here on the administrative things, and then I'll take your hand. So on the administrative things, there are at the moment 3 different suggested topics for today. One of them is the Q&A for the OCP entity attestation token profile to finish up what we discussed last week. So we'll get to that in a moment. I see 2 other items on there, both I believe put on by Osama, and one is the third one on there, which is as I read it, is basically asking for the chairs to vote on the proposal. The chairs have voted. It's recorded in the proposal. So I see nothing more to discuss there or take the 6 time up there. The second bullet item on there is Osama discussing wanting to appeal against chair's concerns and repeated bias, et cetera, et cetera. This also was presented by Osama last week. And so that's also been covered. So those 2 bullet items, I don't think we should be spending time in the SIG today. Take team members, the community's time. That's been covered. So I think the one item that's still on the agenda for today is the first one, the Q&A for the OCP entity attestation. So with that, I see and expected Osama's hand to be raised. So please, Osama, go on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Greg, I have concern about this. The reason you are mentioning that my topic is not to be taken is not valid. The chairs have not formally voted for it, and I would like to discuss it further. The discussion in the last meeting where I presented was that the chairs will comment and have a look at the reply that I have given to the comment, and my concerns are still valid. I don't see
So-
why the chairs are saying that it's resolved. It was not resolved. The end
So
of the discussion was
it may not be resolved the way you desire it to be resolved. The chairs have officially written in the issue that at this time, they do not vote to move this project forward. And the rationale was essentially this SIG is not about defining standards. It's about facilitating the adoption of standards, primarily through open source contributions. And the proposal as
That's
it
not correct,
stands.
Greg.
Wait,
So
please, Osama, please let me finish. Thank you. And the proposal as it stands, as interpreted by all of the chairs, is that there is not yet a what we call even a stable standard that to study. Once that happens, then the chairs take some time.
We lost you for a second there, Greg.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. If it's not just me, I think we lost you for a second there.
Oh, okay. So
rewind 15 seconds.
15 seconds. So let me try summarizing the chair's position as I understand it on the issue. The scope of what we think that this SIG is involved with is on essentially assisting the adoption of standards, primarily through open source contributions. Formal analysis of standards is also within scope. The issue as it stands doesn't have what we call a stabilizing standard to even begin with. So until that happens, we don't think that it makes sense to take time from this community to basically listen to different formal analysis for potentially different permutations of what what the SEAT working group discusses in IETF as the standard stabilizes. So it's not that we don't think that there's rationale to do that formal analysis. We just don't think that this community is the place where that happens until perhaps there actually is a stabilizing standard.
Are you finished?
Yeah, some of you have your hand raised. Go on.
Okay, so I first want to object on the reason that you are giving. So all the long debate that you had, so there is only one point which is raising, which is the stabilizing standard. Is there any other point other than that? Before I address that, I just want to be sync with what you are saying in order to understand that.
That's the first one. And let's not we've done this before. I do not want to Osama, please. We've done this before. We've discussed in this forum. We've discussed on the issue. So for this particular SIG, I don't, unless there's something new, and what you're bringing to light here is not new from my perspective. Let's give the time to the community to discuss things that are also on the agenda, like the Q&A session.
So you are talking about what's new on the agenda, what's new, and I have addressed the feedback that you have given. So what's the feedback?
I looked at it, and it did not address the feedback for me. So if you want to continue the conversation, let's take it offline, send emails, put it on the issue and GitHub, but let's not take any more time from our meeting today. Thank you. Okay, so on to the agenda. So we have the Q&A on the OCP entity attestation token profile. So Fabrizio, Giri, Parvati, do you want to take it from here?
Absolutely. We were starting here, and I believe last time, Parvati, if I remember correctly, we went through all the slides. So we were just so we should be, should be an opportunity for the community to ask questions on all of the slides we presented, and I hope we will have sufficient answer for all of you in this conversation. I see Thomas has a hand raised.
Okay, can I start, or anyone else?
Oh yeah, I would love to. Let's get it started.
Okay. All right. So last time I didn't have time to actually ask the question about what story do you envisage regarding the live update of the the device or whatever, the root of trust that sits behind this OCP token. In particular, I wanted to understand whether which or maybe if there is a story, if you have thought about this, and if so, whether you're aiming for, describing the complete journey in terms of updates, and in that sense, what the requirements are on the root of trust in terms of storage. Or you are thinking more about rolling hash plus the last thing, like in an event log like fashion, which has much less stringent requirements in terms of ROT storage, but then requires some additional pieces of evidence to be added. And
So,
yeah,
go ahead,
sorry for rambling, but this is sort of
no, this is very
right.
important. This is very important, and I'm looking forward to give an answer here. So the profile itself doesn't really dig into how the root of trust should report, like should work with the live updates. So there is no normative restriction. It could be done anyways, but there is a but here. The profile was developed by mostly OCP community, which is the same one who basically came up with Calyptra. And Calyptra uses as the concept of reporting journey measurement within DICE DP, and the strategy that as OCP we've been taking here is to, which I don't know if it can be formalized for attestation SIG, but could be an open discussion here. So I don't wanna take a stand on the strategy from attestation SIG. I wanna just saying what Calyptra has been doing and what is perhaps like the spoken things to do here is to report journey measurement from the device. So it means that each target environment will use the integrity registers claim within the measurement map to report the journey measurement. Now, the question is whether should the device report only the journey measurement or should report also the whole history. And we had these discussions in the past back and forth, and I believe like it was pretty much the alignment was pretty much saying that the device should act basically like a TPM reporting a PCR, which basically that's essentially what is it, the journey measurement. It's a PCR of update for a specific component. However, the device would be not sustainable for the device to report the whole log of the whole measurement of all the updates, because there will be basically a separation of concern here. The device can report the state, but is not the entity who starts the update. So it should be an at least this is my suggestion. I don't want to be, there is no normative at this point on this rule. This is really open for discussion. It should be the root of trust for updates, which updates the device to collect the log with all the measurements and then the device reporting the journey measurement. How the verification will be done at the point? The verification will be done that the verifier will correct the event log from even an untrusted source, make sure that all the digests from the event log are basically represented by quorum reference triples, right? So they are valid, acceptable state the device can be at, and then recalculate the journey measurement from the event log and make sure that it's equal with what the attester will report in the evidence. This is, like I say, Thomas, this is, I wanna emphasize, this is not something that the EAT profile will be prescriptive, because it's going a step beyond on a strategy for journey measurement like live update reporting. And I'm not saying that's what should be doing, but this is a way to use it.
Okay, thanks very much. I have follow-up question. You said you wanted to use the integrity registers collected by the DP, the DICE DP, if I understood correctly. So what goes into the how are these integrity registers structured?
So let me correct you right there. Sorry for one moment. So
Yeah.
if you use a Calyptra for so Calyptra is not going to like Calyptra core, the way it works. It just give you a root of trust with DICE plus DP service. So basically give you identity attestation, which is basically a way to establish trust on a key, not to establish trust on a complete device. Versus this it will give you what is called inventory attestation. Inventory attestation, it means that you have a signed token. This doesn't not bring in any key that you need to establish trust. It's basically telling what are all the component, all the security TCP component in this device, if the device wants to report at this specific moment. Naturally, to establish trust in the IT key, in the IT attestation, in the IT attestation key, a way to do it, if it's basically root of trust is Calyptra, uh, you need to basically appraise the identity attestation. And identity attestation is done by DICE DP. Now, what I was saying is that the DPE, we DICE 1.2, was myself and Ned, basically augmented the TCP info to include integrity register, and in the evidence transformation draft that we also been working at, we basically saying that the corroboration of the integrity register in the TCP info will follow the can be basically follow the integrity register on the quorum. Although, like, I don't expect integrity register to be part of the quorum, but could be part of the should be part of the DP. And at the same time, even the IT itself reporting the reference, the evidence triples in the same format as the quorum can make use of the integrity register to report the journey measurement for any specific component.
So what I hear, Fabrizio, is that the structure of the integrity register is not defined, because anyway it needs to be matched against the quorum, and it is going to be byte by byte equivalence, isn't it?
I'm not sure that it's gonna be much with the integrity register particularly. It's actually something that probably, Thomas, we should explore as IETF, like in going there, because I don't believe that you could report the integrity register in the quorum, because the integrity register is a state, a specific time of the device, right? It can be is versus I see the quorum like a snapshot of. For a specific release, for example, of all the acceptable reference values, right? So while the quorum, while the reference value, I believe, that's my impression, are static claims, represent a collection of static claims, acceptable values, acceptable static values. The integrity register is more dynamic. So there should be something in the quorum draft, in my opinion, that would basically a special rule to do corroboration of the integrity register. We should not be done like by just looking at reference value in the quorum, like you do, for instance, for just basic digest, but should be done by also evaluating a third party, but another event log coming from either the attester, or coming from a root of transfer update, or coming from whatever. And like you said, the event log doesn't need to be trusted, coming from a trusted source, but they need to be a sort of three-way corroboration, not only two-way corroboration. You need three things. You need that evidence, you need event log, and you need multiple quorums for doing that.
Okay. So I hear you, although when you say bring this to the quorum draft, I think this is more profile level things, because as you know, the integrity registers are very, very they cover a very wide scope, right? They're not, whereas here we seem to be thinking at a very specific use case. how you would use an integrity register structure to do something specific, which is the journey collection. So, well, we can try and sketch some design, but generalizing that might be a bit of a stretch.
Probably you're correct. I will agree with you, like, because it could be also used for PCR. But even if
Exactly.
it's used for PCR, you
Yeah,
still need an
even
event
then you have a
logger.
log. Yes, exactly. So maybe there's space for some sort of factorization of functionality here. But let's see. Okay, thanks very much. That was very interesting and enlightening. Thanks.
Thank you. I see two other questions. I don't know who came first, Anchor or Osama. You decide. You want to talk first?
Yeah, I was first. Okay, so I will go ahead. Basically, I want to understand if you, I think I asked last time, but I didn't really understood it. So is there a complete implementation with which I can check some performance evaluation of this profile? For example, what I'm interested in specifically is something like uh, computational and memory overhead, that how much memory additionally it consumes and things like that, things like latency and um, what else, like these kind of performance criteria to see how does it compare. And coming from attestation 6 specifically, because we work a lot with this attested TLS rather than this SPDM, I'm trying to see what are the performance trade-offs of attested TLS versus this SPDM. And can you comment on, maybe you have gone through some literature or something to about this, to say what is the performance comparison or performance valuation of SPDM, and if possible its comparison with other approaches like attested TLS?
Yeah, I think this SPDM was shown as an example for a TDISP device in this particular context. TDISP as a standard that has a dependency in SPDM, at least for measurement conveyance. Okay, I think comparing SPDM to a tested TLS is probably outside of the scope of of this profile. I think that's something that somebody probably take into a different forum. If if you think that the SPDM should eventually be replaced with whatever the IETF comes up with for a tested TLS, I think that would be something that you should probably take to the DMTF or or possibly the PCI SIG as well.
No, but it's also just a misunderstanding of mix of layers, right? Maybe just to give some context to Sama here, SPDM is a protocol that you can, like, that is usually used on kind of like device level or low level interactions where you query the certificates and do like the handshake with the device. And TLS is usually used in network context, right? It's just different protocol.
Well,
Right,
yeah, that's fine. That's fine, but I think that's outside of the scope of this presentation.
Yeah, completely. But just to give the context of
Yeah.
like, this is not competing with any TLS here. That's like, this is like SPDM. It's just a different thing.
Yeah. In fact, I
Sure.
think if I think eventually this could even fold into a tested TLS if that makes sense,
Yeah,
depending on
it's
target use
completely
case. Yeah.
outside of scope. That's a protocol level. This is a profile to convey evidence. It doesn't say how it should be conveyed.
I mean, what I remember, I agree with Fritz, that's fine. I mean, one is device level, one is network level. But what I remember from the last discussion is that you said, hey, this is independent of this profile SPDM can also be used at network level. That's what my notes say. I may have got it wrong, but I just want to confirm that basically, are you saying that the SPDM is at the device level only and not at the network level? Is this what I'm hearing?
Yeah, but I mean, we don't make any
Claiming.
claims on SPDM at the network level. I think, if you look at TCP, that's that's decades of work to optimize over heterogeneous networks. So I mean, SPDM encapsulation over TCP, I guess I've seen some implementations on that.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, I will take this question to the DNTF. It's not
Yeah.
part of this profile, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I go to DMTF that and I say that, hey, don't use SPDM, use attest-TLS, so that would be itself shooting on my foot. But yeah, thanks.
Well, I'd say first off, we need a standard that we can work with. IETF hasn't even gotten to that point yet. So, I mean, I think it's kind of a premature discussion to compare, to talk about, for a potential replacing of SPDM with the tested TLS.
Sure, Giri. My point was not to try to replace it. I was just interested, or my question specifically was very focused on saying that, do you have, let's say, forget about a tested TLS. My first part of the question was, do you have any performance evaluation with which, if I am going to implement this at a device level, do you have any performance evaluation of things like the ones I mentioned, like latency, right? So, and memory overhead, computational overhead, things like that. Is there something known to you that has been done for OCP profile or somewhere else in the literature, or is this something which is not done? Performance, as you know, is also an important criteria, independent of attested TLS. Let's forget about that. Is there something on performance of this profile?
We haven't done any formal performance evaluation, but we have a reference implementation of this. Calyptra implements the encoding of 8, and this is in a embedded environment with, and there is definitely a little bit of memory overhead, but it looks good. But if you want the numbers, I can give you the memory required by encoding.
Okay, that would be perfect. Thanks very much.
Cool. If we're done with this, Hank has also a raised hand.
Yeah, hi everybody. This is Hank. I put into the chat 2 links. One has a loaded title, obviously, because concise evidence binding for SPDM. But this document defines a byte similar, like a symmetry version of quorum for evidence. So before we heard, you want to express evidence, reference values, endorsements in the quorum way, and the evidence is kind of missing, but it's not really it's in CoAF. You can also do it with each and do a transformation. I think both ways are perfectly fine. I just wanted to highlight that if you do it natively in concise evidence, there is a relatively simple appraisal procedure probably on the verifier. And a second comment is for these pesky, huge event logs you have to convey sometimes. TCG also has a canonical event log.
Hank, you break.
It's breaking up. That is bad. Badly up or just a little bit up?
You disappeared for, say, 7-8 seconds.
Geez, this is maybe a call thing. I don't know. So aside from the fact that the document is named concise evidence binding for SPDM, it defines concise evidence, which makes appraisal relatively straightforward, even byte comparable, as was discussed before as a question. And the second, but I think more important thing is for the pesky event logs, there's a canonical event log format defined by TCG that saves a few bytes and also would allow for a standardized way to convey the event log over a network. So maybe look at those as inspiration, I guess, because I think they, as far as the yellow box, sorry, what color is it? The red box is concerned, that could help the first document, the first link, and that requires the second link, which is the event log that you require for replay on the appraiser, also on the verifier to do the unordered, as you said, appraisal of evidence if you have a lot of measurements.
Thank you, Hank. That's very good. Let me start with the concise evidence binding for SPDM. Yes, that's all what how all started. Initially, OCP wanted to use like the concise evidence as a standard way to express like evidence for OCP. Um, then we realized that concise evidence, because concise evidence is great for for the reason you described, you guys came up with a good way to structure, like I really think a good way to structure the evidence because it followed the same format as the quorum itself. So the same semantic as the quorum itself. So you can optimize the verifier basically by reusing the same logic for internal transformation on both evidence and reference value. So that was the added value of the concise evidence. However, what we realized along the way that another problem we want to solve was decoupling evidence conveyment through from SPDM. And the reason why SPDM has this L1, L2 transcript, which most of CSP verifiers or remote verifiers in general found annoying to authenticate the evidence because like the verifier needs to know the SPDM protocol in order to be able to authenticate the evidence because you need to know how the L1, L2 transcript is formed and you can change from a version to another version of SPDM. So they said, let's find another solution. At the same time, I remember RFC, like the IT draft became like almost becoming like an RFC. In fact, it became like RFC 9711. And we said, oh, we can solve the second problem we've been having with the conveyment of the evidence for authentication by using a mechanism that like a data structure that already has a built-in authentication scheme, a built-in signing scheme, which was the IT, which used the cause sign one scheme, which happens to be the same one actually the Corim uses. So if you think about it, the OCP IT profile and a Corim reporting reference triples, they basically are pretty much similar in the data structure. Yes, there are like some difference for sure, but they have like an external skeleton that is basically the cause sign, and internally you have on one side the evidence triple, on another side the reference triple, and it's very easy for in our opinion, that's what we thought, for the verifier to make usage of it. And Scotty, for the other part of the event log format from TCG, that was new for me. I was not aware, but we'll definitely take a look. I think this is very interesting. Thank you, Hank.
Sure. And again, evidence transformation is an alternative, and I think EAT is nothing to be avoided. I just wanted to highlight that you are not bind. So again, it's a loaded title, concise evidence binding for SPDM, but concise evidence is self-sustainable. You can use it as a message. So just as a note. And thank you.
Yeah. In fact, we use inside it like to encapsulate within the measurement socket. And like you say, concise evidence has its own media type. So we say basically media type concise evidence is IANA register, and that's how it's been encapsulated.
Excellent. Thank you.
No problem. I see Osama is hand raised. Osama, can you ask the question?
I'm just following up on what Hank was saying. One of the answers you gave was that if the evidence was within the SPDM and the SPDM spec varies from time to time or from one version to another when it changes, there will be problems for the appraisal. I wanted to kind of understand that a little bit more. Can you expand that more on, isn't it the case that it's just an extension to a specific message of SPDM, and it's why I'm not understanding why does that matter? Because, for example, if it's an extension of a message, even if the spec changes somewhere else in SPDM, that evidence is a part of that specific message extension, right? So why does it matter at all? I didn't follow your argument for that.
So the signature scheme that SPDM message have it is called L1, L2 transcript for measurements. So you're reporting, the way you're reporting your heat will be a part of the measurement, and the measurement itself has, if signed, follow the L1, L2 transcript. The L1, L2 transcript is the signature not only over the data, but that you are bringing with a specific message, but also is bringing like other messages that were used before. Like, so the transcript is not only calculated over the payload, but is calculated over the payload plus other metadata. That means that the verifier that wants to verify, wants to authenticate the L1, L2 transcript, which is the signing scheme of SPD, the native signing scheme of SPDM, need to know the SPDM protocol to at least a bit to be able to recreate the original message that was signed. Because as I said, the signature is not over the payload, which will be the concise evidence if it was not in it, but it will be the payload plus other things. Now, to understand these other things, which are part of the signature schema, the verifier need to understand SPDM. And that was the reason why it was annoying for most verifier, and why we wanted to use why we came up, why we found very appealing the HIT, which has its own signing schema that was completely independent from SPDM.
Okay, so to summarize what you are saying, or what I understood, basically, you're saying that making it orthogonal to the SPDM has the advantage that you do not need to do these L1, L2 transcripts, which, as I understand, these transcripts are the same way for the TLS. Maybe Giri can help me here. So Giri, is it the same as the transcript hash that we have in the TLS protocol? Like, so the argument probably you are making is that I don't only need to as a verifier, I don't only need to take care of the specific message, let's say certificate message of the TLS protocol, just comparing it alongside. I also need to take care of, as a verifier, the messages which were before that, because the transcript will not only include this message, but also before that. Is it the kind of reasoning?
Yes,
Okay,
something like that. Yeah, in general line like that. In the specific, we can look at the SPDM specification, and specific will tell you what is included.
Yeah. So, so with the tested TLS, right? I mean, the reason you need the transcript in there is because you're trying to bind to the session, right? And the transcript is very important for that. In this case, you have a similar consideration. So that's so I think from that perspective, the two protocols kind of took a similar philosophy.
Okay,
I think that SPDM was modeled. I don't want to. I might be wrong here. Someone more familiar with SPDM can keep me honest. But I believe initially SPDM protocol was modeled after TLS, but made light for devices.
So one quick follow-up that I have is, like, is it really varying a lot? Like, is it SPDM a stable protocol? So what I understand your reasoning now. You are saying that transcript hash will change even if the message where the evidence is put doesn't change. That's perfectly fine for me. I understand that. But my kind of worry is that, is the SPDM spec so unstable that it's changing a lot? I don't think that's the case. Is it
I don't
true?
know, but I don't know, Sama, but I really don't think it's a scope for this discussing about whether SPDM is stable or not unstable. There are like DMTF work groups that will discuss about SPDM. And I'm not the person that has like, not in the DNTF chair, even to be able to make such a claim at this point.
Sure. I mean, you already made this claim in answer to Hank, so that's what I was trying to clarify. But anyway, thanks.
Thomas, you have another question?
Yeah, very quick one, maybe or maybe not. Yeah, as you know, probably I don't know. I think I've shared this with you in the past, but Mathieu and I have put together an init profile that sort of solves similar problem in the sense that it provides a way to repackage the measurements from a trustworthy device that has been assigned to a workload in a confidential computing environment. Maybe it's a slightly smaller scope than OCP-IT, but it covers some of the same ground. So my question would be, A, whether if you know about that, and B, if you know about that, how do you see the two overlapping, and what way forward do you envisage? Are they complementary? Are they sort of mutually exclusive or whatever? Thanks.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think you're talking about the measurement component specification from ITF, Thomas.
Yes. Wait a second. No, it's not the it measure component. It's the it DA. I'm pasting the link.
Oh, yeah, yes. Those are those are complementary. Yeah, we look into that. Actually, that's very useful too. So the ETDA, I think, is mostly used for. I think they could be used complementary, to be honest with you, because the ETDA I see as a way to collect multiple TD devices and basically bring us a collection of package. Is like let me put it this way. I think the ETDA, the advantage of the ETDA is like what it gives the ETDA is allowed a lead attester to bring in a packetized hit, which includes all as a sub-modules, all the TDS devices. So like it can be TDS device, it can be CXL and everywhere. While the hit profile is more atomic compared to A1. It could be basically one of the sub-module could be OCP hit.
All right. Okay,
And I think
that's
we
an
can
interesting input. Yeah.
And I think actually we can write potentially we can write a third spec, a third profile, which bring both of them together. Could be actually good to solve the answer for many other people. Which one I should use? Because I think they could be really complementary, and but if work together, actually could be. If we write a draft for those to work together, we will solve problem for many people.
Thanks very much. Let's move this conversation offline and see whether we have a convergence path. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Also, Fabrizio, you mentioned just now about the measured component, right? So, measured component also describes the mechanism for basically providing a test evidence related to the measurement. So, is the new spec going to basically override that old measured component profile, the new one that you're proposing here?
No, I think they came up like in parallel, the measurement component and the OCP. As OCP, we decided to use the concise evidence versus the measure component. I see not as a replacement of the IT itself, the OCP profile, but I see like a competitor of the concise evidence. So I think it's really up to the verifier to know which one will feel more comfortable to use it. I personally, I will be biased because we developed the OCP profile. I think the advantage of the EAT profile of the concise evidence is having the same transformation schema as for the Corim commit reference triple. But what I'm noticing is that like someone let me notice actually that the other part, the measurement component, might be more valuable for profile they want to use JWT because for in our specific use case, the heat profile can work only as conveyed as CBOR versus I believe the measurement component could be also conveyed as a JSON. So perhaps the measurement component can, I think that it will be useful for like a JSON token.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it sounds like there's no more questions here. I appreciate Fabrizio, Giri, and Parvati coming back and answering questions. It was very, very interesting and informative. Looks like we have 5 minutes or so reclaimed time today, so I hope everybody makes good use of that. Just as a reminder, in 2 weeks, we have scheduled Pushkar Chitnis from Microsoft. He's an architect in Azure. He's going to discuss disk identity and integrity for confidential compute. So some work that he's been working on for a while. And then there's a number of other topics coming up in the subsequent weeks. So I thank everybody for joining in today and hope you all have a good couple weeks.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, folks. Bye.